So I just made this remix of a song by Octav1us, which she used in her video on Pac-Man. Well, here it is. Actually, it started like this. There was this beat, so to speak.
Do they want to kill me? You're kind of cute. You're really pretty too.
And at first I wanted to use this part because I like the way this laughter sounds, and it just sounds, well, cute. But then I realized that it doesn't really have context, and it doesn't really have anything to do with the plot of the song, if you think about it. So I decided to leave it off and start with the song itself. But I also used a bit from somewhere in the middle to fill the beginning.
There's no one else around as the arcade powers down a gun too.
As you can hear, the song is really minimalistic and I really like it about it. That's why I wanted to make this remix, because it's like a basis for an arrangement that I could conjure around it. So at first I used this detect tempo tool to sync it. And sometimes it would go out of sync, so sometimes I would slice it up and move it around a little so it would sync. And sometimes the words wouldn't really fit the beat.
Wakka, wakka, wakka around.
Well, at the chorus it's good. Okay, so why I wanted to record this video is to show what sounds I used. So at first I transcribed the melody, which is really simple, but I don't think I have it anymore. Nope, it's all just... okay. I've deleted it, so I started with this sound, and as far as I remember it's an E. And this is what I did to see what notes are in the root. And then I started to think of the chords. And at first I used this sound, which is... it didn't really fit. So I'll show you how it's used to sound. And this is all there was at the beginning, so...
I've waited here for hours, fingers wrapped around some flowers for you.
And the melody, it goes in two repeating segments, then it changes, and then it goes back to the verse 1. So it's A-A-B-A type of thing. I don't know, it's still just a verse, and then it goes to chorus, which is different. But I like how it changes at the third measure. So I've decided to emphasize it. But then I realized that this sound was too harsh and it clashed with the vocals too much. So I used this handy tool, shows what chords are being played at the moment.
No one else around as the arcade
Major 7,
down a gun too.
A at 9. I love this song.
I've waited here for hours, fingers wrapped around some flowers for you. I dream you come to love
This has gotta be my favorite part. This one I'm not sure about. It's kind of ambiguous. Then it goes back.
And the screens upon the walls, they flicker on and show us fall as we fall.
I love this. And then it goes to chorus. So for this one I used strings from Sonic because I actually wanted this instrument to sound like regular strings, like, you know. This is what I meant. But then with Genesis you can't really... By the way, this is Jenny. It's the program that's emulating the YM2612. Wait, yeah, 2612 sound chip that's used in SEGA Mega Drive. And at first I wanted to use drums from SEGA, but I couldn't find them on my computer because the files have been deleted because of system reinstallation and all that. So because of that the song doesn't even have drums. All it has is some percussive elements from PSG, which is an 8-bit... Well, it's the sound that was used on the SEGA Master System, this one. And the only drum I added is this snare, and it's generated by PSG. And the interesting thing about this mix is that it has even balance of the instruments. So it has PSG for the melody, but I didn't use it actually. Then the bass line is, I think it's Earthworm Jim. Oh no, it's from Aero the Acrobat, one of my favorite games. So if you could just isolate the bass line. It's kind of busy, especially in this. It's a little distracting even if you hear it in context. And that leading part is one of my favorite things about the song. It's I think it's from Devilish or somewhere around there. I don't remember how I made it. But it's kind of harsh, so I had to apply some EQ to make it less harsh. Yeah, this is how it ended up sounding. And I decided to pan it to the right because it clashed with vocals too much. And it's kind of like a main melody, but it's really simple if you think about it in here. It's just emphasizing the chords, and that's all it's doing. That's why it's kind of safe even. I love how it sounds. So this is Jenny. Then there's another instance of PSG, which is kind of like the pad that emphasizing the main chord progression, and it's kind of too much actually. I don't know. This is how it sounds. It was even more harsh at the beginning, so I dialed it back. It was supposed to work fine with sonic strings, but they occupy the space of higher registers. But they kind of work together. I don't know, it's still a little too much. I don't usually do it like this. And after the processing it would sound like even harsher. Not entirely content the way it turned out at the end, because you can't really hear the instruments, and it was supposed to be like 16-bit mix, but it actually has more 8-bit elements, so it's kind of a mess in here. There's one of Jenny, one of PSG. Both are used in Sega Mega Drive. There's a lot of VGMs or Sega soundtracks that use this PSG module, so to speak, alongside YM2612. Then there's this. Oh, it's also... Yeah, so this one has a slow attack, and I used it for... Wait. Oh, it's this one. It gives us this laid-back quality, because this song is kind of like a ballad, so it's nice to have slow evolving sounds. But I added it later, it wasn't there at the beginning. Yeah, so it emphasizes the chords, I think. You can hear it too much because it's not processed yet. Yeah, it's less harsh now. Yeah, so this is the main kind of chunk of instrumentation, but then in here, when it's changing, then it goes to... So here I didn't add this arpeggio thing, so it's less busy, and also the bass line is missing, not because I intended it to, but because I didn't think of one. But then when I heard how it changes the mood of this segment, I decided to leave it out. So this part is supposed to be less heavy, so it's kind of uplifting, you know, because it's about dreaming about meeting here. I don't know. So one other thing I added later was this, I don't know how it's called, I think it's called riser in electronic music, but I don't usually use it. But in this case I kind of had to, because it's a very chiptune thing to do. It actually sounds like Echo the Dolphin, right? I also used it at the beginning to build up, and also it's before the chorus, of course. So this is a GUI-less plugin called Magical 8-Bit Plug. It's kind of popular actually among chiptune makers, so to speak. And I used it only for sound effects actually. So I think one time it goes up, then the second one goes down. And all I did was change this switch from positive to negative. So it used to go up. Then I switched it to negative, and that's all there is. So it's basically the same sound. As for this one, I'm not sure what it is. Oh, right. Yeah, this is the arpeggiated line I used during the chorus. Also, let's see if I kind of want to know what chords are they, because I don't remember, and it's nice to have this program telling you what chords they are. So it's still A major 7, then C minor. Love this one. Oh, this one is cool. As for this arpeggiated line, it's kind of random, really, because I'm not sure how I did it, but it was just lining up with the chords. I was just like emphasizing these ones, but then I listened to it and heard what sounded better, so it makes it less predictable, and even though it emphasizes the root of the chord, I think, or not even, I'm not sure. One thing I did to make the chorus more dynamic is chop up the bass line, so it's more like, and it doesn't really go well with the way this sounds operates, because it has LFO, so it's kind of moving on its own. It's not static. As you can hear it wait, let me just, it's very dynamic, basically. So when it's short, it tends to sound weird, but I like it. And during the chorus, you can't really hear the way it changes. It just adds the bottom end, and that's all it should do, I guess. Oh, I just remembered. So before I made this arpeggiated line from the 8-bit sounds to make it more chiptune, because Octav1us is not a 16-bit character, so to speak. She's more from the ZX Spectrum and C64 era 8-bit computers, so it made more sense to have more chiptune sounds. I still couldn't resist adding the best sounds that this song has. And it actually emphasizes the main melody.
Wakka, 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 I'm alone without a lover, with no pennies in my pocket. I can feel the pixels pulling my heart.
Yeah, I made this melody first, and then I emphasized it with this 8-bit sound. I penned it to the right at the last moment, but it used to be in the middle. And of course it clashed with the vocals. In fact, they're kind of too low at this point, and I think this one also needs nothing crazy, just less high end, because it's too harsh. It's interesting because the chorus actually has some instrumentation. It's not as minimal as the introduction. And I feel kind of bad for not using that same melody or rhythmic pattern to emphasize the initial intention of the song. But then I kind of changed it during the end section. So the song used to last only up to here, and then it would go to... Then I seamlessly connected it to the end card of the video, where the second verse starts.
Every little beat.
And then it goes back to chorus and it fades out. And this is the part that I decided to leave the way it was. At first I left it in here so it would fade during the chorus, but then I realized that I wanted to expand it a little, because I mostly wanted to experiment with the way the chorus arrangement would differ. So for the second chorus I changed the rhythmic pattern to more bouncy one with PSG. Very standard sound, it doesn't even have any effects. And this was supposed to be like a brass sound, like the 80s. Well, you know how it is in the 80s, but it doesn't really sound like that. Well, it kind of does, actually. Yeah, very 80s. So the basis for the arrangement of second chorus is this. So it makes it more different from the way the chorus sounds in the first section. At first it's kind of dreamy, and especially with these slow evolving sounds. It's still kind of busy with the way this arpeggiated line is, but it has less movement. Because if you listen to the original, it doesn't have the drums at the beginning, so it's supposed to be like pre-chorus almost. I especially like how the beat is only on the first measure, so it's like dun, dun. It's like half expecting it to evolve over time, and only by the second chorus it really picks up the pace. Wait, this is actually a copy of the first, I think. Where is it? Oh, I think I actually copied the beat, so it doesn't even have... Yeah, only the second verse has the beat, which is kind of neat. I actually couldn't replicate this rhythm. Also, I kind of filled the void after the chorus, so it used to go from... So there really is just drums. But I decided to bridge these sections, and it's nothing fancy really, it's just... But together it sounds better. Yeah, then it goes back to actually the same exact pattern. I'm kind of regretting not making it a little different, because it has the same effect, but it has different functions. So when she says level up, it goes up. Level down, I'm still chasing. That's why I put it here. Oh, and also there's this crash, I guess you would call it. Yeah, I called it crash. It's also from the 8-bit Magic plug. It's just a noise with sweeping down pattern. It can actually go up, but it doesn't sound that good. Yeah. So I didn't use any real instruments. All the drums are generated, and all the sound effects also, with 8-bit instruments. The most part of the instrumentation is 8-bit, but some of the instruments are 16-bit. But I'm not really content with the way drums sound, because they are kind of muffled and not very characteristic of the way they should sound. But on the other hand, if they were too prominent, too teeny or too harsh, I guess they would take away the attention from the singing and all that. So the second chorus, right? Yeah, I changed the bass from the choppy one to emphasize the downbeat. It's just that. And then you don't even need drums when you have such a strong rhythm. But actually I think still used this drum pattern. And for this one, I think I just I deleted the bass line, yeah, and I think that's it. Yeah, the drum has also gone, and this slow sound is also not there. So this part is kind of like breather, you know, less busy, calmer section. It doesn't have drums, and it's like a break. But then it goes to this new part, which I'm kind of proud of, which has this solo. And at first I wanted to make it 16-bit, and I intended it to sound like saxophone. So it was supposed to be like, you know, since the song is kind of like this romantic ballad, it reminds me of Soft Cell and, you know, standing at the door of the pink flamingo, crying in the rain. And the saxophone is wailing in the distance. But then I couldn't find it. I actually, I think, still have some sounds that I was trying to use. Wait, oh, it's fancy drums. Yeah, I couldn't find the use for that either. Anyway, I ended up using this synth. This is the only one that's like 100% 8-bit. It's Family Synths, so it's absolutely NES. It's not Sega. It's not 16-bit. And it's actually the very first preset, but I turned on the portamento because it used to sound, well, actually, let's just hear it. But with portamento, it sounds very, I don't know, expressive. Yeah, I'm glad with the way this part turned out. And oh, and by the way, it uses the same pattern that's on the second chorus. You know, pattern 2. This one. The busiest one. And as you can see, I copied the part of the drums because the song used to end. And this particular segment has voice. So I couldn't really multiply it. So I took it from some other part. I don't remember. I think it's somewhere around here. Yeah. Or, you know, the one that doesn't have... Yeah. So I took the pieces of the song and stitched them together again. I like how the E keeps pulsing all throughout the song. Oh, wait. Okay, so even during the segments where there isn't the original song, I still used the beat. Without it, it's not as exciting. So my original intention, or main intention with this song was not to remix, not to change it, but to enhance and fill the gaps and use the original song and expand it. Oh, and for this last one, all I did was change this arpeggiated line, and I dropped it 1 octave down, so it wouldn't clash with vocals. It used to go like this. Then you know, so it's lower, and it's a little different. And I think I also dropped this one down. Yeah, this one is also 1 octave down, so it's more pronounced. And this one I think is even higher. Oh, no. No, it's always like this. Good. But this one... Oh, yeah, so it goes down full 3 octaves. Wow. I didn't realize it was that drastic, because at the beginning it's the highest. And then it's the lowest. So it keeps it fresh, you know, so every chorus kind of sounds different, even though it's the same exact pattern, just, you know, with slight differences. I think, yeah, I turned off the strings. By the way, I didn't want it to sound so busy, so for this section I left just single note. It's kind of, you know, risky move to make, because it leaves it kind of bare, but since there's already 2 instruments filling it up, you know, it's enough. In fact, I still think this song is kind of too crowded, and it was kind of difficult to mix it, and I'm still not entirely sure I wanna leave it like that, because it doesn't sound mixed properly, especially in terms of gain staging. Yeah, it also can't handle all the effects, so I had to mix every instrument separately. I think that's about it, I don't know, there's nothing else to add. So basically it's the same pattern here, and then chorus repeated, but with different rhythmic patterns and slight enhancement, but no drums. It wasn't like conscious decision. I kind of wanted to add some heavy kicks during the chorus, but I just couldn't find them. Okay, I just wanted to make sure the chords were visible, because I started with a very simple one, so it's just E major, but then I added 7th, and so it kind of evolved, and I went by feel, so I didn't try to make it sound more complicated, although, like I said, I like how it sounds during these add 9 segments. A add 9 just sounds awesome. Yeah. Not to brag or anything, but the chords are kind of cool. But again, it's not like I planned to make them this way. I assume this song is in E, but it doesn't really have that many notes to judge from what it's actually. Anyway, I'm just hoping that it fits with the music, because at some point, at certain parts, it doesn't really sound good, like at the end of the chorus here. Fine, but then this one okay, this is not bad here. Okay, never mind that. Yeah, okay, that's pretty much it. I'm sorry my English isn't up to standards, so to speak. I just wanted to show that it has not only 16-bit elements that I love, but some 8-bit ones as well. And some... Okay.